everybody, I'm Melissa Sorrentino, the Improv Sophisticate, and I want to talk to you guys today to further what I already started when I was talking about selflessness versus selfishness. Now, because some of the things that we think, have made sense for us for, dealing with life and thinking of ourselves as selfless and actually genuinely trying to be selfless, sometimes really get us stuck on stage. So I want to clarify some very specific things that actually have to do with your feet on the boards, okay? You're actually up there and you're actually playing. One concept is the idea of other people's opinions mattering. You want to give other people a say. You want to let them have their vote. You want to value their opinions. You don't want to brush off feedback from other people. Those kind of things are things that we associate with being, certainly not selfish, but more in the selfless camp. So if you're on a stage, though, and, really this applies to life too, but if you are putting more value in someone else's opinion than your own, in someone else's point of view than your own, if you're giving them more clout and weight and, I'll just go right to it, pressure than you give yourself. You see how that works? That's also giving them too much pressure. If their vote is going to predicate what you do, that is too much pressure for them. So if you're waiting for your scene partner on stage to see what they might want to do, you're not necessarily being selfless and giving them something if they don't have any idea either. You're pressuring them. So it's actually a gift to your partner to show up with stuff to work with, just like it is in life. Now this is going to morph right into my second point. So the first point is about pressure. The second, I want to talk about clarity. When you give your scene partner very clear stuff about you or about a location, an idea for a scene, anything at all, when you give them that in a clear fashion, you're offering them something to work with. If I walk into a scene and I'm I've got a mug and a hat on and I'm looking up and I say, wow, it's really too cloudy probably for golf. Mark. That's me. I gave you a name. I told you it's cloudy. I told you we are about to play golf and we're not going to be able to. I showed you I'm wearing a hat with a visor and I'm holding this looks like a mug, So I gave all that stuff to the scene. Think of it like this. When you give stuff to the scene, part of the scene, look at this right here. Look at the frame of what I'm doing right here. How much of this am I taking up? I'm taking up a good third of the actual physical space here. And when you're on stage and there's two people or one person, if you're the monologuist, you're taking up the whole stage, really. So whatever the proportionate amount of that is, that's not just for you to get to play, it's for you to have the responsibility to play. So the more you bring, the more, if you have a pie and you get a quarter of that pie, if you stuff a lot of stuff in that quarter, they all, get to stuff that much into each of their quarters to even it out. You don't need to be like, oh, I'm afraid I'll just put as little as possible into my quarter. Then they're like, well, I'll put as little as possible in my quarter because they're going to vibe it out and try to keep it balanced. So the point being, if you provide clarity, you're actually giving your scene partners stuff to play with, and that is vital. You're also in life, I'll just say really quickly, when you are giving clarity about who you are in life, when you discover that and you give clarity, then people know what to do with you. They know how to deal with you, okay? That's a vulnerable place. Watch the other video to talk about how it is vulnerable to put yourself out there, to give the appearance of being selfish is not necessarily selfish. That is a perception issue that people with hang-ups might have. But you, as a player on a stage, are not being selfish when you play, okay? So we talked about we don't want to put too much pressure on people. We talked about we want to put and provide clarity to people. And last but not least, and absolutely not least, risk. You have to take risks. And I was thinking about football players, okay? I don't know why. I enjoy football. But, you know, if you're hired in the NFL and you're getting paid your millions of dollars and your teammates are relying on you and your city's relying on you and your family heritage and history and everybody that helped get you to where you are and your coaches and your, you know, did I say teammates? But, you know, and even that little boy that was inside that guy that wanted to be a football player, he gets on that field and man, his toe touches that turf. It's time to pay those people back, to pay it off, and to entertain and to rock it out and to provide the level of experience that he's paid to do. So when you do improv, it's the same thing because it is, you know, it is a show that people are there to watch. And I mean, God forbid, even if all they are is it's a Sunday morning, level 2 class, there are people in that room and that's 2 hours out of their life. Why not give them something? So the connection with that is risk, okay? The reason I thought of football is because, you know, I mean, this is sad and it's horrible, but when you play football, you are literally risking your life. Those guys are. Some people have actually died. Some people have had injuries that have been, you know, life-threatening and pretty damn horrible. So, you know, I'm not saying, oh God, please don't anybody, caveat, time out, don't anybody hurt yourself on stage. That's horrible. No one wants to watch that, okay? Don't be that risky. But you may be, if you can flip that thinking, think of it as self-protective to keep yourself from taking risks. I don't want to take a risk. I don't want to make a mistake in front of people. I don't want to look bad. I don't want to embarrass myself. If you don't go through the rote process of getting yourself embarrassed, making mistakes, fucking up, sticking your foot in your mouth, overstepping that pie balance of a group scene, all the mistakes that you're going to make, if you don't get yourself out there and risk those mistakes, not just mistakes of like, I look bad, I'm a bad actor. That's huge too, of course. But I even just mean straight up, you don't want to make improv school mistakes. If you're so fearful about making a mistake that you don't take that risk, what are you doing? We're back to pressure. Now your scene partner has to take risks that you're not willing to take. How is that fair, right? So all of this is really just falling under the umbrella that I'm truly trying to create for you guys because I want to release you from the worry and fear, especially for those of you who have a penchant for being selfless, for being more like polite and, you know, like you might have a little bit of a lower self-esteem, or maybe it's not even born of that. Maybe internally you have a great self-esteem, but you're just genuinely trying to be polite. It's not a great thing to do. And now I want to do a personal disclosure, and local people may hear me on this. And, you know, I already admitted I'm very low on reps. I have not been playing. I'm out of condition. I'm rusty. I hopped up for like a jam type thing somewhat recently, and I felt that my play was very, very weak, especially considering that I'm putting these videos out there. I've got this resume that I did all this shit in LA, blah, blah, blah. Well, you get rusty if you don't do reps. That's a huge lesson. But the lesson for today is I was being polite. There were a couple of people that were playing, and there was particularly one person who had like an event that was sort of being celebrated that night, and I wanted to like allow that person to kind of more be in the spotlight. But what I ended up doing is I was kind of weak. And afterwards I was like, you know, it was far less about me having a reputation to defend it, but just more of like, I was like, geez, you know, I feel like I was like, I set kind of a bad example. And if anybody younger than me or greener than me, you know, has seen my stupid name on Facebook or, you know, whatever, if anybody was like looking, they'd be like, oh, is that like what I have to look forward to? That, you know, she doesn't look any different than anybody else. But really translating it into the scene work itself, I don't think that I really gave my partners very much to really help. Like, I might as well have been off stage, honestly, for what I brought to it. I was just sort of, I just kind of put a little sprinkle out there, a little tiny bit. But I feel internally more responsible to bring a little bit more. And maybe in that scenario, it was kind of okay because it truly, that person did get the opportunity to shine. But, that person didn't need me to help them shine. They know how to shine just fine on their own. But my point is being that I was a little bit polite. I was like, oh, this is not my house. This is not my, crowd per se. It's their crowd and I'm peripheral, so I'm going to be polite. And I was thinking that I was being selfless, and the result was crap improv. So that's my point. None of us needs to do crap improv. And if you do crap improv once in a blue moon, I made that mistake. I learned from that mistake. And, you might choose to balance and go, oh, it's Richard's birthday and we're all just going to put him on a pedestal and we're going to, go ahead and like acquiesce. That's a little bit of a different scenario. So I'm not going to knock myself too much for that. But my point is it weakened my improv because I got on stage thinking there was a thought process that was like in sort of a I don't want to be selfish today. I already got mine. I already got my 28 years of improv. I already got my 5-7 years when I was really more at the peak of my game. Now it's someone else's turn. That's bullshit. I shouldn't do that to myself. I shouldn't do that to you guys when I play with you. And I definitely don't want to set an example that's in any way going to make anybody else feel like they need to be selfless when it's really just they're not taking a risk, or they're not being clear, or they're putting pressure on their other players, right? Okay, that's all I have to say today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Peace out. And oh gosh, I always forget, I'm supposed to ask you to subscribe to my channel. So please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye.